My name is Arti Saravanan. I serve as the Associate Chief Medical Officer for Recruitment for Radiology Partners, and I am joined here today by Dr. Ramesh Gopi. He serves as the practice president of RP Silicon Valley, and he's a neuroradiologist. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much for having me, Arti.
We wanted to spend some time getting to know Dr. Gopi a little bit better. So let me start off by asking, what made you get into Radiology Partners? How did you learn about the practice, and what initially kind of had you join the group?
Great question. I did most of my schooling and training in Southern California. And as you know, Radiology Partners is headquartered in El Segundo. Many of my colleagues, when I trained at UCLA, ended up taking positions at Radiology Partners practices. And so I had some great feedback from them when we were scouting out for groups that we could partner with. And they had great things to say about RP, both on the leadership side, on the technology side, and on the operations side. And that really compelled the decision to look at RP seriously. And we ultimately ended up doing a partnership with them in November of 2020.
How was that transition like for you as a practicing radiologist, kind of before and then after, now that you've been in the partnership for a couple of years?
Great question. I think RP has tremendous amount of resources. It brings with it a large team of integration specialists that help you think through all of the different steps of merging your practice with a larger entity. And so there's literally a spreadsheet with 100 items on there. And you have people that will walk you through every single item because they've done this before. That makes the process very, very smooth. RP also has a practice director that they hire to help coordinate and orchestrate the entire process. And having never done something like this before, I can tell you that single-handedly, we couldn't have accomplished it. But as a team with RP, we were able to do it successfully over a few months.
So let's talk a little bit about your leadership. You are, of course, the practice president of the group in California, RP Silicon Valley. How did you get into that leadership role? And do you feel like there is support from the larger RP network to help you and guide you in this leadership role?
I have a very interesting story. I started out being an engineer in Southern California, and then I decided that I wanted to pursue medical imaging, and then started doing residency at UCLA. As soon as we came to the Bay Area, a colleague of mine were able to assume the reins of a hospital contract in Silicon Valley. And we were young radiologists. It was an exciting experience. We learned a lot. And so we had to immediately sort of grow into a leadership role in order to be able to interface with the hospital administration, with the billing companies, and many other factions of people and resources that we had to interact with. That really lent itself to an organic development of leadership. But I want to say that RP has been great about honing that leadership in a more definitive way. As soon as we merged with RP, I got several calls from individuals in RP to ask me to lead some initiatives in AI. And that led to me being able to form relationships with these individuals and learn a lot about these technologies and ultimately bring those to our hospital. So I'm very grateful for RP for being able to take this to the next level and help us improve our existing leadership capabilities.
Well, that's wonderful. I didn't know that this is your second career. That's awesome. It's good to have an engineer and the radiologist.
Yeah, you hope that you could preserve both skills. But my real passion is coffee after all of these.
Of course.
So I have a little coffee bar at home, and I brew. I have an espresso machine. I roast my own beans. And the interesting thing about it is that we started this little cooperative with the technologists and the hospital personnel, where we created a little coffee bar inside an imaging center. So some of the technologists have learned how to become baristas and so on and so forth. So that's one of my hobbies. I also enjoy hiking, and we live in a great neighborhood where there's ancient redwood forests, so we can just drive 5 minutes and get there within a short period of time. And also I enjoy having people over. I grew up in a joint family in India, and that experience of being social really stayed with me. So I enjoy going out with friends and colleagues, and there's many places that you can do that in Silicon Valley. So it's great that way.
How do you maintain your work-life balance, with your hobbies of roasting coffee and also being a leader in a large practice, and a big part of RP leadership? How do you maintain that balance with family and also being, successful in the work front?
I think it is a challenge, but RP makes it easier by giving you the ability to work remotely. So an instance of this is my mom had knee surgery recently, and I needed to keep an eye on her, but I still wanted to work the daytime shifts. So RP actually installed a workstation in my parents' house, which is about 10 minutes from my place. So I would read studies and then check up on her. And that was a good alternative to not being able to do that, or, having somebody else keep an eye on her. I think also that RP has meetings throughout the year. They have events that help you mingle with other radiologists, get ideas from them, and they've really built a community around the whole concept of a large practice, which is great.
That's great. I mean, just having that flexibility and the option of being able to, change and adapt to evolving things in your personal life. I really think that that's important. Just, when we join a practice, we're not just taking on a job, we are living through an entire career. And so the evolution of life goes with how adaptable the practice is as well. So that's a great example. Thank you for sharing. Talk to me a little bit about flexibility and potentially even burnout. We know that with kind of increasing volumes these days, radiologists are feeling a lot of just having to read and keep up, but there's this concept of getting burnt out as well. How do you manage and deal with that?
I think we all go through it in different phases. And if you're involved in this field and you work in an acute care hospital, you're exposed to these intense events that happen. Volumes can peak, and so all of us have exposure to events and things that can make it a high pressure environment. My whole philosophy has been that happy radiologists will read films well. So you have to find ways to de-stress and compensate for that. And I think a lot of that goes to having colleagues that are supportive of you. It comes down to having a really great team and support teammates and practice directors and a whole backbone of an organization that can support that. One of the things that has been really great about RP is something called coaching circles, which is a way of actually sharing your thoughts in a forum and getting sort of life coaching on how to decrease stress levels. We also have an ACMO that is deeply involved in this, and I think it's Chris Mattern that has done podcasts on this, and he's written articles on it. So I refer to a lot of his material in the hopes of improving our situation and improving the morale in our hospital. I think one of the things he said was that during the pandemic, what his practice would do would be to get all the radiologists together and celebrate events like graduations and birthdays, just so that they had a chance to meet even in a social vacuum. And I think things like that are really important. And we've tried to implement that both with our own radiologists, but also with support teammates and hospital personnel. And those things, I think, definitely help take the edge off of the stress.
Yeah, that's great. I think, anything that we can get help with in terms of dealing with our increasing work demands, but also being able to maintain a positive environment at home is great. So I'm happy to hear that RP supports that. That's all the questions I have. Is there anything else you would like to share or you'd like to ask of me?
No, I think I wanted to thank you again for getting my story, and happy to share my experience. And if anybody ever wants to reach out to me to learn how we practice, or I'm happy to be a resource to them. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.